Hey guys, welcome back to the Anime Collector. So, right now I'm driving to California so that I can meet up with MrNiesGuy because I want to go see Ghost in the Shell, and I'll see you guys in California. Okay, so you want to know what this movie's about. Based on what I know, it's a bastardization of Ghost in the Shell. That's what it is.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to told you that, but...
Scarlett Johansson did like a behind-the-scenes featurette where she's talking about the Major's relationship with Bato. She calls him Batu repeatedly. I'm like, that's not a good sign. No, that is a really bad sign.
That is a bad sign.
Hey, this is Chris. I can't get the phone in a second, so just reading message. I'll get back to you.
Okay, then. There he is.
Alright, how you doing, man?
Good.
Well, I don't do face cam, except like...
I know, it's not gonna get a million hits by putting this as MrNiesGuy face reveal.
I have done a face reveal.
I know, I was there.
I have! And
I
like,
was there!
The few times that people are like, oh my god, like, I'll do a random like live stream, people are like, oh my god, he revealed his face. Like,
yeah,
I have! There's 2 videos on my channel right now.
And there's a bunch of videos on other people's channel from the Anime
Expo thing.
yeah.
My face is known, just like no one looks for it.
Alright.
I don't know. Actually, I had one person who was like genuinely upset I wasn't like a 12-year-old kid.
Okay, so we've got MrNiesGuy, we've got Dan. What are your thoughts going into the movie?
I mean, without Oshie, it's gonna be one of those things where it's like you're not gonna get the psychological aspect of it.
Certainly.
I mean, they're gonna try.
Yeah.
You know they're gonna try, but it's gonna be a Hollywood style of Oshie, which it's kind of making me worried. But it looks.
Oh no, it's gonna look good.
It's trying to pay homage more than like, much more than Dragon Ball Evolution.
Sure.
Much more than Speed Racer.
Certainly.
Much more than just. It's trying.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not gonna be like, oh, it's gonna suck. Oh, it's gonna be great. It's like, I'm imagining it to be good. Hopefully, it's above average. But that's my thoughts.
I think it's going to look fantastic, and everything else about it. Maybe the soundtrack will be okay, but everything else is going to just be terrible, in my opinion. That's what I feel like going into it. Do you have any thoughts, Dan?
It looks like they got the feel down, like the look,
yeah,
the feel, the vibe. It looks like they got it down, so...
It looks to me...
But, as far as, like I said, Hollywood trying to do this story, I'm skeptical. I'm very skeptical.
From what I've seen, it feels like to me all they did was they got an art book from Ghost in the Shell. They didn't consult the manga. They didn't even watch the movie. They just got an art book and sent it to the look dev team.
To be fair, Oshie somewhat did the same thing.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah,
but like, you know what? It turned out okay for Oshie.
Yes, but I'm just saying at the end of the day,
let's see how it's going to turn out.
Yeah. 95 was not a good adaptation. If we're going to be like, oh, it's got to be based on the source material.
Very true.
It is a bad adaptation.
It's a terrible adaptation, but it's a reimagining that is hailed as superior than the manga.
Exactly. It's like this is going to be
the chances of that happening twice are very slim. Very slim. Anyway.
Especially Hollywood's track record.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, well, hopefully they can prove us wrong.
Maybe.
All right. Okay.
I like how you take a deep breath. Like
I have to.
This is basically your YouTube apology video where it's like,
oh my god,
you this whole scandal you just came out, and you're like, and if you had a dog with you right now, like
I almost feel guilty for it. I feel guilty for this film.
You are okay.
Right.
First off, just to get this out of the way, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot.
My opinion, this was the movie version of when somebody has to do a book report and they don't read the book, so they go to Yahoo Answers. Okay, that's what it was to me.
Okay, but
whoa, it was painful.
Okay, how about this? How often were you basically having 95 Ghost in the Shell in your head while watching this film?
Okay, the problem that I had is that they tried too hard to recreate scenes from the original.
But they needed to. If they didn't, you would be people would saying, "Oh, they're doing the whole Dragon Ball Evolution approach."
They don't understand. I get that, but this is different from Dragon Ball Evolution. This is a scenario where they could have done their own story. They could have, see, because they took from Ghost in the Shell 2. They took from Standalone Complex. They had little things they were pulling from that they were utilizing.
They took a little smidge of Solid State Society.
Yeah. And
they did that.
They took all these things and then they just kind of threw them in a blender, and they didn't really care how the smoothie tasted. You know, like it was... I was going to see the movie regardless. I was going to own the movie regardless. I actually wasn't planning on seeing the movie in theaters. Okay? I was going to get it on DVD when it came out because as a collector, I have an enormous collection of Ghost in the Shell. Very important to complete that collection no matter how bad all the installments are. Okay? Personally, I had more fun watching Dragon Ball Evolution.
Yes, but if I had... Okay, look. If you want to see Ghost of the Shell 1995...
I agree.
Get your DVD of Ghost of the
Just
Shell
go watch
1995. Preferably the original DVD cut, not the remastered one. That's always been Big's recommendation.
The 2.0?
No, I don't like 2.0.
Yeah, the terrible one.
It warms up the colors. But yeah, that's not what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. People, regardless, are not going to be able to separate this film from other Ghost in the Shell films. Now, as someone just like... I enjoy Ghost in the Shell. Mm-hmm. The original film is one of my personal favorites of all time. The TV series is my top 10 favorite TV series in anime.
Yeah.
It's a great franchise.
It's a great series. Yeah.
But let's also be honest. Arise
is terrible.
Okay. Solid State Society?
That's one of my favorites, actually.
Okay.
I love it.
By the majority, though, it's not as high, I feel.
Solid State Society...
It's not like Ghost of the Shell today, even in Japan, is like this whole, like, everyone looks at what they're doing to basically what they're doing next. It's standalone complex. It's second gig. Mm-hmm. It's the first two films. That's what people know of Ghost in the Shell. Yeah. Oshii did not even do the source material justice. He did his own thing. Yeah. This is basically these studios doing their own thing. Which I was totally okay with. And it's enjoyable. I really think it's I had fun. The problem that I had with it is that as I said during the movie, it's Ghost in the Shell without any of the parts that make Ghost in the Shell Ghost in the Shell. Yeah. Like, I feel like they might as well have done an Appleseed movie. You know, because they're like... Appleseed could have worked. Yeah, but that's what I feel like they're doing. There's like, okay, well, we're going to do... Because the Japanese title for Ghost in the Shell is Kokkaku Kidotai, right? It's like mobile armored riot police, you know, which is essentially what Appleseed is. And it felt like they were capturing... the look of things, and I'll be honest, when we came in here and we said what we thought, I said it was probably going to look great. I didn't think it looked that great. Personally, I thought that it actually didn't look all that great. Some CGI scenes, could have been done better than others. Some of them I was getting flashbacks of CGI from like the early 2000s. Yeah, the way she moved. It's a very stylized approach, which I think is good. Yeah. They're not trying to go like the best and biggest graphics. They're basically just trying to use like what they know will... It's stylized. I can put it that way. Signals, fish, that glitchy style going through the streets, all the giant people. The stuff from the trailer. Yeah. Yeah, that's stylized. It's not true. Yeah. We got to make this thing look as realistic as possible as we can right now. They're not doing that, so it's I can live with that. I didn't hate that, and I thought it was going to be a lot better because of how it looked in the trailer with the fish and everything. I thought that was going to be really interesting, and probably if we had seen it in 3D, that particular part might have been more interesting, but I'm glad we didn't see it in 3D because it was stereo converted, and they're just cheating it. They're cheating it every way. They're just rotoing the whole movie. It looks awful in my opinion. I've worked jobs where we stereo convert and they never look good, but there were a lot of things that bothered me that I knew were going to bother me. First of all, oh my god, a lot of stuff just from the trailer. Her suit, which actually I was impressed that they made it white. That they were trying to make it white in the beginning when she's infiltrating, and they're basically just recreating the scene where she assassinates the guy in the 1995 movie, but in this one she's trying to save somebody. She's wearing a white suit that's her camouflage suit, because in the manga it's white, right? And I always kind of hated that Oshii made it skin colored. Because it's like, look, she's naked. And it's like, she's actually naked in other parts of the original 1995 movie. I don't like that everybody points to that. Like, that was a big thing when I first saw the movie in, like, 2003. That's actually one thing when the first trailer dropped that I thought, like, people, like, oh, I can't believe that, I thought this was so weird, too. Like, people were actually saying Scarlett Johansson was actually being prude because she didn't want to do the whole, like, nude. It's like... No, she's done. Never been. Yeah, well, first of all, she's done a full frontal nudity. But I meant Motoko. In multiple films. I was gonna say Motoko's not nude. That's the thing in that scene. But the thing that bothers me about it is I thought it was
at first I'm like, oh, I'm glad that they're making it white, like as I believe it is in the manga. And then I'm watching the scene where she's running up the wall, and it just looks like she's in freaking footy pajamas. And I feel like I'm watching that scene in Kung Pao where Master Pain fights the Chosen One as a baby. Like, it just looks so weird.
There is no right solution here because this thing is so beloved.
Yeah.
What I did enjoy though was all the references to Mamoru Oshii.
Yeah.
How basically there was the Basset Hounds
Basset
and all
Hound,
the things, and how Bato's saying like, "Why are you feeding these dogs?" "Oh no, I just like stray dogs." I'm like, "Yeah, gotcha."
Yeah.
Also, how Bato's eyes are when he gets the little spectacles in him, he sees red, and it's like, "Oh, yeah."
Oh, did they show that? I didn't.
For like one little scene where basically we see him look back, he's seeing red, so it's red spectacles.
Oh yeah, I think I.
And it's like that is that is tiny.
So they were,
but it's a really nice homage.
On that note, one thing that I actually really liked about the way they did Bato's eyes was the muzzle flare on his gun reflected off his eyes in a very nice, very nice touch. It was really,
it's like,
that tickled me. They did a
Bato's
good
eyes
job.
originally, when you first see him in the trailer, they're like, because you don't like.
Yeah.
But it's saying like, okay, I guess semi-spoilers, but it's not really big to the story itself. Bato does not have the spectacles when
in the trailer
begins.
they show
I know,
him
but
without
it's like,
it,
how they go about that, like, okay, yeah, and it's like, it's the reveal, it works, everything's fine.
Yeah.
But going about that now, going to certain scenes, which are going to do that, I have two major complaints with the film. One, it's very obvious they're trying to pay homage to scenes from the original film, and standalone complex, all the other things, Innocence. The scene where Matuko is diving, then she gets up, goes on the boat, talks to Bato, and they have a little exchange. There was a lot of potential there, and they didn't capitalize on it. When it came to basically the scene where the one guy shoots the guy, and he's wearing that semi-cloak thing, and he's running through the thing, I thought it was pretty decent. The spider tank, I thought the change of scenery was good, since they did not try to do the whole religion angle. They weren't going to be able to pull that off, I felt. I'm glad they didn't try to bring a religion into this. Once again, that's a big thing missing from Oshii. The other thing, which you're going to agree with me right now the second I say it, is they try to humanize the Major too much.
Yeah.
That is the big problem with this film. Now, I know why they did it. I understand why, because it works in the anime, because the first thing you see is basically her, the stone-faced woman.
She never blinks either in the...
Yeah, and the thing is,
once in the original movie.
With animation, that works because you're not going to make her do this.
Yeah.
An actress,
Yeah.
like, no matter what you do, she's going to start having emotions. You're going to start reading into her face.
Yeah.
What was the, what's the editing thing from, like, the Russian film did? The Frankenbird effect?
I have no idea.
Okay, you went to film school, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, you know what I'm talking about. Basically, it's the one Russian guy, he's looking down, he then sees the bowl of soup, we cut back to him, same face, he then goes to the girl.
It's juxtaposition.
Yeah, but this guy who did the thing, but I can't remember his name.
So basically...
Regardless, we're going to read into her face.
Yeah.
You can't. It's impossible not to, because she's a live-action person.
That's a good point. So what he's getting at is that there was a film experiment where they literally just have a guy looking into a camera, and it's just a blank expression on his face, and then they show you something else. So they'll cut from that shot to a bowl of soup, and then the audience will think, okay, this guy's hungry. They'll use that exact same shot and cut to a girl like on a swing, and they'll say, okay, he's a proud father. And it's just it's the way that the audience.
The Koslov effect.
Yeah.
Koslov effect. That's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah. So
it's basically
the way
how montages now work. It's because basically we can now like attach things on an aspect-to-aspect idea. The problem, though, is that the film had many chances to do aspect-to-aspect editing, which is basically, so people understand, the middle part of Ghost in the Shell 95, that scene where basically they're on the boat, the Major hears what we presume to be her ghost, and she cuts, and we just see all the scenes of this sci-fi Hong Kong. That's aspect-to-aspect editing.
Yeah.
It's not cutting on action. It's not basically doing...
Yeah.
It's not doing that. It's basically, we'll cut to a close-up of the light.
Yeah.
Then we'll do a small pan on the road in front of us.
Yeah.
Giving us a sense of the world.
Right.
They had so many chances, I felt, to do that.
Yeah.
But they didn't, because...
I don't think they were sophisticated enough to even think to do it.
It's not incorporated just in American editing. It's done a lot in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
It's done a lot in Hong Kong cinema, which they did. There was a lot of people, a lot of studios that were a part of this that did that. A lot of names, a lot of actors, there were both sides. But, I don't know. That was one of the things I was kind of waiting for, and it's like, I understand why. This film is action Which, honestly, this film to me is what Ghost in the Shell 95 would have been without Oshii.
Yeah.
Oshii has always said that when it comes to his films, live action or animation, that the producers are always asking him, like, hey, can you do a little more action? Can you do a little more, like, hey, how about we make this a fight scene? Or how about we do this? And just basically he's like, no, I'm going to do what I want. I'm Oshii. You're gonna kick me off the project?
I feel like I felt like the pacing in this movie was all over the place. And I
Yes,
feel like
I will agree with
one of
that.
the reasons why is because they were trying to fit in the homages to the original. And I felt like they were just running and running and running. And it's like, okay, throw this scene in. You know, and it's like, okay, now, oh shit, we gotta get all the way over there. Sure, run. You know, like, move. Like, get to the next thing. And then there was just so much, like, spoon feeding it to the audience. I felt like, you know, which is not, like, Ghost in the Shell, the concept of it is something you need to sit through more than once. This movie didn't, it felt like they gave you everything. There wasn't, like, any real advanced subtext that was going to take an actual night of just poring over every scene.
This is not something Lewis is going to be contemplating and make a 40-minute video on, to put it that way.
Yeah, it's just, it's something that, I don't know,
It was simplified for an American audience.
It was.
And that's what it is. And that's why it's going to reach more audience than the 1995
Sure,
film.
I totally agree.
95 Ghost in the Shell didn't do well in the box office.
I know.
The only reason people know about it now is because of VHS tapes.
Yeah. Bato, for me, is actually my favorite character in Ghost in the Shell. I didn't think he wasn't a terrible actor. He wasn't terrible in the role, but he definitely wasn't Bato.
Yeah.
You know, he looked the part to a degree.
I forget what actor I thought could have been better.
Ron Perlman.
What?
Ron Perlman looks just like Bato.
Yeah, that's the guy. It's like, I kept thinking, like, honestly, okay, let's just get this out of the way. Scarlett Johansson, for what she was given, I thought was a good major. They could have gotten a Japanese actress, an up-and-coming actress, someone who no one knew about.
They could have. They really could have.
And it could have worked.
You know what? I hate to say it. Before the movie came out, I didn't care about the whitewashing, but I will say that the movie would have been better.
I will admit that it takes you a few minutes to get out of the idea, okay, this is Scarlett Johansson, and then you to be immersed into the nature. It took a few minutes for me. I got into it, though. And still saying, what this script is, she did the best she could. She did not half-ass it. I cannot say she did that.
I wouldn't have minded a Caucasian lead if they hadn't backpedaled with their story. That bothered me.
That's the elephant in the room.
That's a big spoiler. That's a big spoiler. Should we go into that? You want to do it now? You want to put a spoiler warning? Like,
yeah, it'll be there.
Yeah. They didn't whitewash.
Okay. I think it's worse. I think it's significantly worse what they chose to do.
They just white-shelled.
Oh, God.
White-shelled, yeah.
You know, it's just...
that's the way you say that.
And actually, they did it twice, too, with not just her character, but
with the other guy, too.
But
I actually thought a more appropriate name for the movie was Hollywood in the Shell, because there was no, like, soul to this film.
Oh, can I see on camera?
What they chose to do... And I actually knew that they were doing this ahead of time because I read a blog post.
I just guessed. It's like, I knew like after the backlash, it's like, that's an easy edit. It's easy to put in. I'm calling from a mile away. What they did was they made it so that Scarlett Johansson's character, who they named Mira Killian, was originally Motoko Kusanagi, a Japanese dissident, basically. The idea is that she was originally Japanese, and they put her in a white woman's body in terms of like the shell. Which actually, see, I had no problem with the whitewashing because of that aspect. Because the major literally, it's ambiguous whether or not she's even female in the show. Yeah.
You know, and I thought that like. Everybody's blowing this out of proportion. If there's one movie for you to whitewash, this is the one where you can get away with it. Yeah, it takes place in the future, in a city that looks like it's inspired by China, with a character who is literally a ghost in a machine. It's like, there's no nationality attached to it.
The thing with me that always got me pissed off by that whole notion was that, like, I actually got into Twitter fights with this, and people like would still be like, oh, you're just, you're just basically, I was called names, man. Even like, for people who like just, SJWs who don't know anything about the film. Yeah. I kept trying to tell them, okay, we're not trying to spoil the film. Okay. The shell does not matter. It's the ghost. Yeah. And people are like, oh, look at you. You're just, you're just defending, Hollywood.
Gosh, it's like all of this is coming back now.
Was that the villain is a white guy. And he's the one who probably inspired the designs. And it's like, that's actually, they're playing up to essentially the undertone racism. That, okay, I'm probably reading into that more than I need to.
No, I don't think you are. I felt that too.
But it's like, it's a great little touch, and it's like, it makes it so like, You mad at SJW? You mad that they did this decision? This is the decision I will guarantee you will make this film profitable. Mm-hmm. They kill off the guy who made it happen. Mm-hmm. It's okay. It's poetic justice, I think, if there ever was one.
If they really wanted to placate the SJW culture, the outrage culture, they could have, at that last scene where she's like looking at the grave of where her body supposedly is, they could have at least like either digitally changed Scarlett Johansson to look like she had opted into an Asian body or switched actors. My
thought was going to happen in the film was that in that final battle, her face would get corrupted. Her mom's going to be like, oh, here's a picture. And they were going to make her look. Yeah, I was waiting for that. I was like, that would be... Like, get a whole other actress. The Scarlet Hunch is gone. We get a new person. Everyone's happy. It would be the best.
The thing is that none of what we just described should have ever been on the menu to begin with. This should not have been an issue.
But look, at the end of the day, you have a Chinese market that if you put someone from Hong Kong or you put someone from Japan in there as the main lead, it would not sell as well.
Yeah, so just to clarify...
I know it sounds political. I know it's the...
No, it is.
Like, it is. That's why.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know this, and that's probably a lot of you because it's not very well known, it's not like talked about, an enormous portion of Hollywood has been bought up by China.
Yeah.
And the reason for whitewashing in movies like Doctor Strange and Ghost in the Shell is because of that. Because the Chinese will not... first of all, how many people are in America? Like 340 million?
A billion in China.
In China, yeah. Compared to that.
That is a much larger market, and that is where the money is.
Right.
Because people do not go to theaters anymore. That's that truth. So...
any movie that comes out in America, it does not make its money here. It makes its money when it goes overseas. That's any movie.
There's a reason why they've constantly the #1 movie in the world, especially in the last 10 years, that has become the bigger saying than just in America.
Right.
Because in America doesn't mean any much anymore. Anything can become the #1 movie in America.
Yeah.
It's just like in the world.
Usually it's like an Adam Sandler movie.
Yeah. In the world, that's basically meaning the #1 movie in China.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is. Anyway, let's wrap this up.
Okay.
So
okay, about this. I don't know how you do your ratings or your grading for your stuff.
I usually don't. Well, go ahead.
Okay. Do I say you should see this film? Yes. Should it be at least through Redbox? Yes. Should it be through Netflix? Yes. Should it be in the theater? Yes. Do I think 3D? No.
No.
Do I think IMAX or anything else fancy? No. What this film is going to be is essentially, it is a great action sci-fi movie, but not a great Ghost in the Shell movie. Yeah. That's the difference. If you're looking for Oshi, if you're looking for that, it's not here.
Yeah.
If you want to be for 2 hours and change entertained by just watching this person try to figure out her past, yeah. It's not a great Ghost in the Shell movie, but it's a good movie.
I will agree that if you can disconnect from Ghost in the Shell and you just want to see some sci-fi action, you probably enjoy it. Personally, I wouldn't recommend seeing it in the theater. I think that it would be fine to see it when it comes out on DVD, or it probably end up on Netflix.
Yeah.
I in my opinion, I wouldn't waste the money. But the last movie I saw before this was Kick-Ass 2. So it's been a while. What about you, Dan?
I think it's worth going to see. Whether or not you go see it in the theaters, I guess that just depends on you and depends on what your plans are and your budget is. But yeah, like I said, I thought it was a decent. It was a decent movie. I thought it could have been it could have been worse. Could have been better. I just overall thought it was just a decent movie.
I almost would have enjoyed it more if it had been worse. Like I said, it was Cliff Notes Ghost in the Shell, but now we're just reiterating the point.
They did the best they could to appeal to the biggest market so the film could actually stand on its own.
And
this will more than likely lead to more anime adaptations. I hope they learn from their mistakes. I hope they get better as the films progress. I'm still hoping one day we get an Akira film. I do think in about 10 years or so, with the relationship Ghibli and Disney have, we're going to get live-action Ghibli films.
That would be...
Especially with them more going now into live-action stuff, the way they are. It's going to happen, I feel. Those are the biggest known films.
Yeah.
We're going to get more, I feel, Netflix stuff, more Hulu stuff, more Amazon, live-action, and they're only exclusive made there. Mm-hmm. This is just the start of many more things. More people are going to be interested in the medium now than ever. It's going to get bigger and bigger. There's no stopping that. And I can't wait to see what happens.
Yeah. Alright, so I've been editing all night, and this has been a very difficult video to sort of put together. There's so many points going around, and a lot of the points I was trying to make last night, because of the flow of the dialogue, Mr. Nice Guy sort of took things I was saying and took them in a different direction, and my points never got to the end. And since he's put together a video on his channel where he's basically articulated everything that he wanted to say about the movie, I thought I might as well just sort of crystallize my points before we wrap up and sort of give it to you straight. So the major issue that I have with this film is the loss in its potential, you know? Mr. Nice Guy was kind of hung up on this idea that because I kept bringing up the shots that were basically an homage to the 1995 film, that I wanted it to be the 1995 film, and I had a problem when they deviated from it. That's not the case at all. I didn't want it to be the 1995 film at all. What I wanted from this film was for them to do something different. And the reason I had such a big problem with all these homages is that they were shoehorning them in to a new story they were creating, you know? And what they did, as I said, is they threw a bunch of stuff into a blender, took out all the deep philosophy from it. That's why I said it might as well be Appleseed, because Appleseed is essentially Ghost in the Shell without deep philosophy, or without the same type of deep philosophy, let's say. They basically took all that out and blended it up and didn't care how things came out, you know? They conflated the Puppet Master with Kuze from the Individual 11 part of Second Gig. And, you know, they even, like, they spell it out for you. They just full on spell it out for you that Mira Killian, the name that they gave for Scarlett Johansson's character, is actually Motoko Kusanagi. And Kuze, his name was originally Hideo. It's like, yeah, Hideo Kuze from the Individual 11. It's like, that's literally the guy's name in the story. So it's kind of like this wink wink nudge nudge to the fans, but it's like, why are you doing this? Like, why are you throwing the, this is not even close to the Individual 11 storyline. You know, you're literally grabbing one little part, because the concept of that conflict between what is consciousness, that question about the ghost, was too complicated for them. So instead they just went with this kindergarten level, like, I don't feel like I belong and there's nobody else like me, and just bullshit, absolute bullshit philosophy that they just tried to give it to us, you know, and they spoon-fed everything. I was like, oh, this is what a ghost is, and this is what that is, and it's like, this is the part that I hated the most. It's just, it was so pandering and insulting to the intelligence of the audience. It's like, okay, so just so the audience knows when data is transferring from this guy to this guy, let's have LED lights show, you know, so you can see that it's going up into his brain. And it's just like, this is so stupid. This is so incredibly stupid. And it's such a loss of potential for a series where literally nothing else is like this. You know, characters are hacking each other's brains, they're hacking each other's eyes, they're hanging out in the lobbies inside cyber brains. There's all this complex technobabble that you have a hard time grasping, and you really have to just, you know, digest it over and over again to fully grasp all the concepts that are being thrown at you. There's none of that in this film, none of it. And I knew that going in. I knew that a Hollywood blockbuster version of Ghost in the Shell wasn't going to be Ghost in the Shell. That's why I said it's Ghost in the Shell without any of the things that makes Ghost in the Shell Ghost in the Shell. So, bottom line, as I said, a lot of potential was wasted. And that's the reason that I personally didn't care for the film. You know, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you guys. I've been up for over 24 hours. Just want to get this video done. I'm curious, though, if you've seen the movie, what your thoughts are. You know, did you think that it worked as a movie on its own? Are you of the opinion that if you sort of strip away Ghost in the Shell from it, it's still enjoyable? Personally, I'm not a huge fan of sci-fi usually, so it was a little bit hard for me to enjoy it the same way that I feel like Chris and Dan did. But I'd love to hear what you guys thought about the movie in the comments. So definitely check out Mr. Nice Guy's video, and check out his channel. Go ahead and subscribe over there. And some WonderCon tickets just happened to land in our laps, so we'll probably be putting up another video in the near future. Until then, I'll see you next time.